Well, time for us to go ahead and get started. I'm glad you're all here. We have a great book for you to read today. It's about a little hippopotamus named Owen. What we're going to be reading is a fiction, but it's based on a true story. So it's a realistic fiction, and we'll read it in just a few minutes. But before we do, I'd like you to have a chance to say hello to everyone and introduce yourself. Then would you also tell us what you know about hippopotamuses so we start to think about it. You can use the video camera if you want, but you don't have to.
Hello, my name is Jessica, and I know a lot about hippos. They're stronger than alligators, and their mouths are very, very wide.
Hello, my name is Kate, and most hippopotamuses live in the wild, but you can also see hippopotamuses at the zoo.
And but they swim in water, they kind of like walk.
Hippos swim in water. They eat grass. I think I saw one at a zoo, and I think I saw it in water. And rhinoceros is different because they have horns and hippopotamus feathers. And hippos have a tail.
Hi, my name is Addison, and I know that hippos don't eat fish, they eat grass.
It's just great that we're starting with all this good information right at the beginning. That's wonderful. Well, let me tell you what we're going to do today. This is my target for this week. Today and on Wednesday, I want you to practice this with the story. When you read a story, and particularly one like this, because it's going to have some things in it that are hard to understand, picture the story in your mind. That'll help you understand it. And then also think about it. Make sure that it makes sense to you. Thinking's the most important part about reading. We're also going to start actually by talking about adjectives. We've talked about nouns, we've talked about verbs, but today we're going to talk about adjectives. They go with nouns. They tell us more about a noun. They describe it. And we'll practice using it with some verbs such as is or are. But the adjectives really are connected with a noun. They tell more about the noun. In fact, let's start with that today. So in this case, oh, Adam's here too. Good. Good morning, Adam. How are you?
Hi, Mrs. Campbell, Mama Good.
Good. I'm glad to hear it. We're just getting started. We're going to read a story about actually a baby hippopotamus. But I wanted to start just with a little review of adjectives. Adjectives are a group of words that tell about a noun. In this case, I've started a sentence at the bottom. It was a, and then there's some word I could put in here to describe hippopotamus. I could say it was a gray hippopotamus, but there maybe is some other words I could put in there. What would be a good word to put in there? If anybody has an idea, click on the microphone and say it, would you please?
It was a grass-eating hippopotamus. It was a big hippopotamus.
It was a swimming hippopotamus.
It was a large mouse hippopotamus.
It was an angry hippopotamus.
It was a fat hippopotamus.
It was a gray hippopotamus.
You are very good at doing this. That was great. Those words are all words called adjectives. They describe the hippopotamus. We often use adjectives when we write. It makes things much clearer and more interesting too. So sometimes you'll see it right before the noun, like what we just did. There was a blank space. Remember, you filled in the word, and you filled in good adjectives describing a hippo or hippopotamus. I sometimes say hippo just because it's a little easier. Remember how I said sometimes they come after a verb, like is? And in this case, we could say the hippopotamus is angry. The hippopotamus is gray. The hippopotamus is plant eating. You had lots of good ideas for that. Now, before we go any farther, I just want to say hi to Peyton. Hi, Peyton. How are you today? I'm checking in with you, Peyton. How are you?
Good.
Good. You came at the right time. We're going to read an interesting story. I think it's interesting, about a hippopotamus today. But before that, we were just talking about adjectives. Adjectives sometimes can be used to compare. Many end in ER if you're comparing two nouns. Like here, I have two pictures of hippopotamus. And which hippopotamus is bigger? The word bigger then is an adjective. I would add ER to big, and then I have bigger. Or I could add ER to pretty, prettier. If there was more than two, I would say add EST, which is biggest or which is prettiest. Sometimes adjectives tell us a number. Maybe it's an exact number like 50. There are 50 hippopotamuses. Lindsay, what would you like to say?
See the hippopotamus roaring? I think that one looks like it's a purple one. Purple and gray.
In purple would be describing it, so that would be an adjective too. So adjectives sometimes tell a number or compare, so you'll see them in many different ways. Adjectives are very useful words, and you'll use them more in your writing this year. Jessica, what did you want to say?
8 hippopotamuses.
That would be a great adjective to put in this empty space. Thanks, Jessica. All right, on to the story. In this story, the hippopotamus is actually given a name, Owen. The name of the book is Owen and the Tortoise. It is a fiction, but it is based on a real event that happened. And to help you understand a little bit about it, we have to talk about where hippos live in the wild. Hippo and hippopotamus are the same thing. I just sometimes say hippo because it's shorter. All right, so here is a globe of our world, and it's flattened out in a map. We know that we live here in Wisconsin. Yes, Kate, what would you like to say?
Could I read?
That would be great. Yeah, I'd like that. Let me tell the children a little bit about the story before we read. Jessica, what did you want to say?
Can I read this?
I would love that. That would be great. In fact, anyone who thinks that they would like to read today can. And why don't you click on the green check? That means, yes, I want to read too. Addison, did you want to say something? I got your message. Good. I see the green checks. Glad to see so many people interested in reading. So the book is called Owen and the Tortoise. And remember, we live in Wisconsin. Wisconsin's part of a continent, North America. If we cross the ocean, we talked about oceans last week. If we cross the ocean, the Atlantic Ocean, we would get to the continent of Africa. That's the one in yellow. See these lines? These lines just show different countries that are part of the continent, and we're going to look at one that's way over here. It's actually on a different ocean, and the ocean plays an important part in this story. Let me show you a close-up of just Africa and then of this particular country. And the name of the country is Kenya. Now, one of the things I want you to know before we read this story, Owen and the Tortoise, is some of the hard words that are in it. This word current is hard for a couple of reasons. It has several meanings. Several words sound the same, like some berries, or if it's happening now, we say it's current. But in this case, current means the movement like in a river. You know how in a river the water flows down? Well, that's the current that's carrying it. We're going to be talking about the current actually in the ocean that causes the waves. And most of the time the waves are very nice, and we like them. We like to play in them. But there's a terrible kind of wave called the tsunami. Did you notice I didn't really say the T, tsunami? You know how we like the wind in Wisconsin, but we think a tornado is horrible? Well, people like the current, but a tsunami is terrible, and we'll find out about that. I also want you to know that the story ends happily. It does have, we're going to stop today in the middle of it, so we'll be in kind of a sad place. But we'll like it at the end. You'll like it at the end. Jessica, what did you want to say?
I heard the word tsunami before.
Excellent. You're one step ahead of us. Here's another word, nostrils. Those are the holes in our nose that we breathe out of. That's our nostrils. Tortoise, you know, is a kind of reptile. And this word, listen how I say it, debris. I didn't say the S at the end. Debris is kind of trash. See, these children are picking up trash. Debris is trash that comes from the ocean, that comes from the water. All right, let me get our book and we'll get started. Remember how I said that this is a realistic fiction. It is a story that's made up. It has some things in it that are hard to understand, and will give you a chance to practice putting a picture in your brain as you're reading, and that's what a good reader would do. And also, stop and think about it, because we'll have to do that. This is called Owen and the Tortoise, and Owen is the hippopotamus, and the tortoise, actually we'll meet the tortoise on Wednesday when we meet again. And here's where it starts. I've shown you this picture of Africa already, and Kenya is the name of the country. So everyone listen, try to put a picture in your mind as Adam, I'll ask you to read this. There's, as I said, there's some hard words in it, including the name of the river. It's Sabatki River, but you can pronounce it however it sounds right. Just sound it out the best you can, Adam. So Adam, go ahead and read, would you please?
Could you make it a little bit bigger because I don't have my glasses? Mrs. Purple, I don't see the page.
Sorry, Adam, I was trying to make it so it was easier for you to see, and I can't, it seems like. So do you want to take a minute to go get your glasses, or can you see it now?
No, thank you. I could read it. It was a hot, sunny day in Kenya.
a country on the eastern coast of Africa. A young 1-year-old hippopotamus named Owen followed his mother into a Sapak river. The water felt good as it washed over Owen's warm skin.
Now, if you've ever seen a hippo before, you'll want to get that picture in your mind. And of course, it's a young hippo, and of course, you'll imagine that it's happy to be there next to its mother. That's a picture I put in my mind. It's one of those things we're practicing, remember? Putting a picture of what we're reading in our mind. Now, the next page is for Addison to read. Addison, let me remind you that this word, the word that's bolded, is tsunami. This is one that, as she is reading, please try to figure this out because it's very different than what we've ever experienced. So go ahead, Addison. Would you read, please? Addison, don't forget to turn on your microphone when you read.
Deep under the ocean, a long way from where Owen basked, the earth began to shake. The shaking caused a giant wave called a tsunami to form. Hundreds of miles away, Owen was not aware of the giant wave.
Thank you, Addison. And Jessica, this page is for you to read, please.
Okay. As the tsunami slightly made its way towards the Canaan shore, carefree Owen was having fun, basking in the river. Ships at sea slowly rose and fell as the giant wave passed harmlessly beneath the sinking shore.
Now that's one of the things that you have to picture in your mind. There's a big wave, it's the tsunami, and it silently made its way. Remember when we said the earthquake was way across the ocean and it's going way over to Kenya. It's going underneath these ships. So you have to put a picture in your mind if you're a good reader of this happening, because it's very hard for me to understand because I've never experienced anything like this. And I guess that you haven't either. So the people who are on the ships never even knew that it was there. On to the next place, where the wave page, where the wave is coming to shore. Lindsay, would you read this page for us, please?
Finally, as the wave came near the Kenyan shore, something strange happened. Water near the shore was sucked into the ocean, creating a strong current. Rivers began to empty the floor and flow back into the sea. It was as if someone had pulled a plug from the bottom of the ocean.
Thanks, Lindsay. Adam, we're back to you. Would you read this page, please? Yes, Peyton, before Adam reads, tell us what you wanted to say.
Nothing, I accidentally clicked the button.
Oh, that's okay. Go ahead, Adam.
The water in the Sabaki River suddenly rushed out to sea. Owen liked all hippos was the great swimmer, but the strong Crent was slippery, simply too swift. Owen fleet felt him still began pull away from his mother and going with the water out to the sea. He was helpless, and there was little he couldn't do.
Thanks, Adam. Yeah, he was helpless. There was little he could do. If you've ever stood in a river, you know that the current can push you. Well, in this case, it's pulling the little hippo and his mother out to sea. It's like I said, this is a good one to try to picture this in your mind as someone is reading. He couldn't do much, even though he was a great swimmer. All right, so here he is. Let's find out what this one's about. And Addison, would you read this page, please?
Sure, and this time I won't forget to turn on my microphone. Owen continued to struggle against the strong current, and he soon he finally gave up. Soon he found himself surrounded by salty seawater. He had been pulled from the safety of the river into the strange and vast new place.
You know how when we do something so much, like if we're swimming, sometimes we just get tired, and that's what happened to him. Even though he was a good swimmer, he got tired, and he gave up. He was trying to fight against the current, and he gave up. And he found himself now surrounded in a different place, and you can tell he's not with his mother anymore. Jessica, would you read the next page to us, please?
Okay. Owen spat and sputtered as he tried to stay afloat. The saltiness of the ocean burned his nostrils. It seemed only a matter of time until Owen would slip beneath the water and down. Then, as suddenly as he had been pulled into the ocean, he felt himself racing back toward land. The tsunami had a hold of him. The giant wave was taking him back toward shore.
Yeah, the tsunami has a hold of them. It's pushing them back to shore. They were afraid. I was afraid when I read this the first time that he would drown. He would just fall beneath the water and drown. But the tsunami then picks him up and carries him towards shore. Kate, would you read to us what happens to him at this point?
As the wave neared shore, it seemed to grow bigger and bigger, swallowing up the little hippo. Then, as all waves nearing shore do, the wave began to crease. White frosty tips spilled over to the tsunami, poured towards the shore. Owen, caught up in the huge breaking wave, was tossed about like a cork. As the wave broke, it threw Owen onto the shore and thud.
Thank you. Yeah, this very top part is called the crest of a wave. And remember, he had been pulled out of the river, out into the ocean, separated from his mom, and now he's being put onto shore. Lindsay, I'm going to ask you to read this. And remember, this word is debris, and it means the trash. And we can see that there's broken branches and things like that. And that's what they're talking about with the debris. Lindsay, would you read, please?
The little hippo tumbled and rolled, bumping into the debris. The rushing water had brought along with him. Owen was pushed farther island. Finally, the wave ran out of energy, and its water spread thinly over the land. Owen was drooped and tired from the Sabachi River and his mother.
Thanks, Lindsay. We're going to stop right there, but I do want you to know it does have a good ending. I don't want you to worry about that. Remember the current, that's the way the water is flowing in and out. In Wisconsin, the currents that we see are in a river. They go one way. That's not true in the ocean. It goes two ways. Tsunami, of course, is the big, tall wave. Nostrils, we read a little bit about that, and we saw certainly the nostrils of the hippos. Tortoise we haven't heard about yet, but Lindsay just read to us about the debris, the trash. When we meet again, we are going to read more about this nice little hippo. Here's a photo, actually, of the hippo. It's based on a real story. Like I said, it's fiction, but it's a realistic fiction. And a tortoise. So that's all for today. Thank you for coming. Thanks for your good reading. Hope you enjoyed the story so far, and I look forward to seeing you again on Wednesday. Yes, Lindsay, what is it?
If it's Monday, I'm going to stay here for the next class if it's Monday.
It is Monday. Thank you. And Adam?
Last week I came to class, but nobody was there. Was I late or was there no class? How are you? How is your health?
I'm doing fine. There was no class on Monday and Tuesday. It was part of spring break. Peyton, what did you want to say?
I was talking